down a little bit here,
Raise your hand.
get this meeting
I
going.
already asked.
I welcome you all once again to our special meeting, which we have on the third Saturday of July each year. We continue to call it our annual meeting, although I think we all know that that requires a quorum. So what we're having, as usual, is our special business meeting. It's what we've done every year for the past 40 years, I believe. So the purpose of the meeting is really to talk about our major accomplishments over the past year, what we consider to be our major challenges in the periods ahead. And we also want to report out on the financial health of Swissvale. So those are the main things. Since it's not a formal meeting, it's an informational meeting, we do not take votes at this meeting, so it's just for information sharing. I was asked this morning by a member whether she could tape this meeting. Normally that is not allowed at a regular meeting, but since this is just an informational meeting, I don't see any problem with that, so I said go ahead. The first thing we do at these meetings is to take a look and approve the last July's meeting. All of the board members have a copy of the minutes of that, and I would like a motion right now that we waive the reading of those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Nick DeMayo has made the motion. I need a second.
I'll second.
John Brennan has seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll waive the reading of the minutes. I now need a motion to approve those minutes. Nick DeMayo made the motion to approve those minutes. Tony Borsini seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, those meetings are approved. Now, the next step on the agenda really is for the President's report. I'm going to do something a little different this year. And you all have handouts, or you should have anyway, they're all downstairs. And the first section of that does deal with the President's report. I'm going to suggest that you read that. If you have any questions, then I will answer them. I do talk about the Board of Directors and how much we appreciate what they do, but you can read that. I will say this, that the last 8 years that I had been on the board prior to retiring, I was the finance manager. And I guess my major focus obviously was finance. And I didn't really appreciate everything that everybody else was doing, because my focus was on finance. But having come back and now sat on the board as the president, I've had an opportunity to really look around and really appreciate what this board does, not only what this board does, but what a lot of other people do as well. And I want to thank the board, and I want to thank everybody else who has contributed and volunteered, because it really means everything to what we're trying to accomplish here. If we didn't have all of these volunteers doing all that they do and not even asking for recognition, you wouldn't have the kind of place that you have here. So what I would like to do right now is recognize the volunteers that have been identified. I'm sure that we've missed some, and if we have, I would like for you to let Elaine know so we can update our informational slides. So I would like for them to stand up if you are here. So let me just go through this. Under social activities, I'll start with the New Year's Eve party of 2017. Nick and Donna DeMayo, as I mentioned the names, I would ask for you to stand up. Steve and Barbara Brzezowski, Tom and Barbara Ketty, Carolyn and Mark Gardner, Wendy and Miller Kraus, Carrie Morton. All of those helped to make last year's New Year's Eve party a great success. Meet Your Neighbor, May 2018. I've got to tell you, that was one of the best Meet Your Neighbor events that I've attended. And we did hear, Carolyn did hear, from several of those vendors that they would like to come back next year. I think that's a sign of how so thank you, Carolyn. Others, Donna Sproul, if I mispronounced it, let me know. Sheila Kennedy, Carrie Morton, Ann England, Barbara Brzezowski, Wendy Kraus, Mike Abel, Bobby. Sorry about that.
Thank you all.
Thank you all very much. The Fishing Derby, 4th of July events. Jim Morton, Mark Gardner, Mike Aubie, Dick Lynch. Once again, thank you so much. July 14 parking assistant, Eddie Longo. How did I find out about Eddie Longo? I think I've known Eddie since the late 70s. He lived right behind us. But I didn't know he was working down there as a parking assistant until the beach staff requested that could they please have Eddie here again this year.
They said next year you should do valet parking.
So thank you, Eddie. As I said, I perhaps could have missed somebody. I apologize if we did. Please let Elaine know if we did miss anybody. Under admin scholarships, Pat Monahan, who had been on the board for years. When she finally retired, she said she would continue to do the scholarship program, and we really thank you for that, Pat.
You're welcome.
Ballot counting. The election process really is very important, and we have a policy on it, and it's important that we do it just right, and part of that is counting the ballots. So Dick Lynch, Stephen Brzezowski, Tom Ketty, and Sharon Logan. Thank you all. We really appreciate it. Technology. Scott Pates. A little over a year ago, Scott actually wrote a replacement content-based web system that we've been running for now about a year and a half with great success. And very recently, Scott and his team installed a very sophisticated security system at the waterfront. And sometime during the second half of this year, we're going to have something similar up at the around the clubhouse. It's a surveillance system. Later on during this presentation, Scott is going to talk about that and show it to you, because we want you all to understand exactly what we did and how we're going to use it. Tom Funk. Tom Funk has worked closely with Nick in several areas and continues to introduce new creative ideas for improving how Swissvale can better serve its community. I will tell you that Tom is a very quiet, unassuming guy that always makes constructive comments and is trying to help us here. And I personally really appreciate you, Tom. Common Properties, Dan Phemister, John Brennan's right-hand man. I didn't quite understand that completely until recently. But again, Dan Phemister is one of these guys that flies under the radar screen. But he's out there helping, doing stuff that Brennan can't get to himself. And he's a tremendous asset to this association. He really is. Clothing, Bonnie and Mike Donahue. The beach, Mike Mansfield and Frank Holland. Rick Mansfield and Frank Holland. Helped taking in swim lines and floats last fall. Steve Brzezowski for raking the beach. Steve Brzezowski again. Steve, are you here?
No, he's raking the beach.
Steve Brzezowski and John Davis helped put out the swim lines. I was there, watching them. And with Todd Mullins with his gear on out there. And a lot of time and effort goes into these things. You don't even realize it. I mean, all of a sudden the swim lines are there. The rafts are there. It doesn't happen magically. It's all done on a volunteer basis. Mike Donahue helping out with the new grills, fixing the picnic tables down at the beach. The pool building cleanup. How did that happen? We wanted to get that area all cleaned up. And all of a sudden, Nick is reporting that, well, we've made tremendous progress on that. And come to find out, it's Mark Gardner, Jim Morton, Mike Kennedy, Mark Gardner. I'm trying. That's what happens when you speed read, right? Jim D'Alessandro.
Bill.
Oh, that's the way we had
It says
Not
Jim.
his fault.
It's Bill.
Not his fault.
Okay.
Sorry, Bill or Jim.
Okay, thank you very much. Neil Prescott, Bob Swisher, trimming the shrubs at the top of the ski hill. They just go out and do these things. All of them. And I'll tell you, it makes a big difference. That's why Swissvale is the kind of community that it is. And it's why our costs, one of the reasons why our costs are as low as they are. Because we do, in fact, have a volunteer army. Any more?
That's it. Thank you.
So thank you all very much. At this point, what I would like to do is reintroduce Pat Monahan to talk about our scholarship program.
Okay, we have a great scholarship program here. We've been doing it now for 20 years. We offer a $1,000 scholarship to a Molten Borough Academy senior, and we offer a $1,000 scholarship to an homeowner's or property owner's dependent child, either graduating from high school or already in college. And this year, I should have my paper out, but I didn't. This year, what I do with the Molten Borough Academy is I call the school each year and I talk to Jen Chapman, the guidance counselor, and I tell her that once again we're going to be offering this scholarship. And I will pick up 2 copies of the applications on the Wednesday before April vacation. That's the end of my story. I mean, then I have a committee that reviews them and selects them. But this high school does all the work on the scholarship. So for that, I thank Jen Chapman a lot. This year, we had a young man from Molten Borough Academy, Jonathan Bryant. He's going to attend Southern Maine Community College for 2 years and get his associate's degree. And then he's moving on to continue his education at the University of Southern Maine. And he's going to major in fire science. So he was very happy to get our scholarship. This year, our homeowner scholarship is going to a young lady who's going to attend St. Joseph's College in Maine. and she's going to major in exercise science and pre-physical therapy, and she plans to earn a doctorate degree to further her education. And I'm not too sure if she's here, but our recipient this year is Taylor Colby.
Hey.
Is she here? Come up and get your information. Thank you, and we wish you very good luck in your college education.
Can I get a picture?
We have to...
Yeah. Let's get away from the wind. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Pat. Congratulations. Taylor? Okay, one of the things I said at the very beginning was there were three things that we want to accomplish here. And one of those three things was the financial health of Swissvale. So with that, I would like to turn this over to John Barber.
Thank you, Bob. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming out today. Because of the expected length of the meeting, normally this is where I also present an analysis of the American League Eastern standings, but we don't have time to analyze that this year.
The Red Sox are what, 4.5?
5.5.
Thank you for that update.
All right.
Anytime, John.
Okay, I'm going to review the finances basically for year-end 2017, and also a little bit about what's going on in 2018. But in 2017, our finances remained steady and consistent with prior years. You should have all received a report when you came in indicating what the profit and loss was and the balance sheet. The consistency was a result of the board managing and keeping our expenses in line with our receipts. So for 2017, the actual receipts were on a cash basis accounting. So basically that means whatever cash comes in or is paid out during the calendar year is how everything gets reported, although expenses may not agree with that as you go along. Anyway, the receipts in 2017 was $553,165. The disbursements and expenses was $499,555. So the excess receipts over expenses was $53,610. That sounds like a lot, but there's other expenses that were incurred that didn't get paid during the calendar year 2017, and I'll explain a little bit about that as I go along. The expenses that we incur include the annual operating expenses to maintain everything here at Swissvale, basically the roads, the beach, the common property, the clubhouse, paying for the administrative staff, and also the costly purchase of water that we do for all of our homeowners. The results also included special projects that were completed in 2017, and included clubhouse landscaping, $3,500. We built some new canoe racks, about $1,000. We purchased a new tractor for beach cleaning that we're doing ourselves now with volunteer help from board members and other members. That cost was $18,500. We did some work on the front entrance wall for $6,000. We needed a new boiler here in the clubhouse, which cost about $5,000. In addition to that, we purchased a lot of land at the top of Swissvale Avenue for strategic purposes, and that cost us $29,825. Sometimes you don't remember everything that happened during the past year, but you may remember the terrible storm we incurred last March. So there was a lot of cleanup that was done by the common properties, and we spent over $12,000 to do a lot of that cleanup. So receipts, our projected budget receipts for 2017 when we made our budget was $552,000. As I indicated, the receipts were actually $553,000, so they're pretty much in line with our budget. A couple of items in the receipts of interest is that we received $24,500 in new member fees. Those fees are $1,500 for each new member, so it equates to like 16 new members to Swissvale last year. We also received $16,250 in renter sticker fees of $75 each. And basically these funds cover the cost of our beach staff in the summer. And Expenses, our projected budget for expenses in 2017 was again $552,000, and we came in under budget by $52,500. However, because of our accounting system on a cash basis, funds were expended for water costs in 2017 of $34,391, but the payments actually went out, some at the end of 2016 and some at the beginning of 2018. So for the record, our actual water purchases in 2017 was $181,668. That was lower than our budget of $200,000 by $18,332. Our budget for 2018 is also $200,000, but we actually now expect to exceed that amount in 2018 due to increased water usage and also higher water rates that we'll be receiving from Lakes Region Water. We'll be discussing future water later on in the meeting in regards to that subject. You all received a copy of the balance sheet as of 12/31/17, and basically our net assets over liabilities was $770,554. We also have assets, assessed value of assets of lots and land owned by Swissvale, the beach, common properties, and also lots that have an assessed value of $1,303,000, and the clubhouse is valued at about $460,000. The budget process for 2018 resulted in a no fee increase, which is always good news for everybody. And basically, the budget amount is similar to last year, although it's money is allocated to different places. But the budget this year is again $551,700. This year's budget includes $44,937 for projects that we're going to do in 2018. However, $15,000 of that amount is being set aside for a future Swissvale Avenue repave that we're expected to do in about 3 years, so we're starting to save up for that. Other planned projects in 2018 is that we removed an old beach grill and replaced it. It cost about $2,100. There was some pool area cleaning that Bob mentioned, about $3,000. We're doing some security technology improvements, and we'll hear from Scott a little later on in the meeting if that was cost $5,000. We've done some improved lighting and wiring at the clubhouse, and we're also doing some marina improvements for the slips down there at a cost of $20,000 in this year's budget, and also additional work there. And those monies are coming out of the Marina Reserve Fund. Additionally, there were 3 projects again that were approved in 2017 that we expected to be part of last year's budget, but they're actually being performed in 2018. One is we're having a fire egress door at the clubhouse for $3,800. Has been budgeted for that. More work on the front entrance wall of $6,000. The good news is our reserve funds are very healthy. We have $446,207 in reserves as of 12/31/17. Basically, it's made up of a money market at Meredith Village Savings of $131,000. We have a CD at the Bank of New Hampshire for $50,972, which is basically monies that have been set aside for the Marina Reserve Fund. And we have an investment in a stock and bond portfolio called the Symmetry Partners Fund. And the value of that at 12/31/17 was $263,504. Those monies are invested conservatively, but they're growing each year as the market advances. Just touch base a little bit on accounts receivable. We're constantly facing issues regarding collection of accounts receivable. Most owners pay their fair share, and receivables overall are not a problem. We do send out various communications to remind owners that have forgotten to pay, and that has been very effective. Elaine's done a great job of keeping current with those communications with those owners that fall behind for one reason or another. Accounts receivable before finance charges at 12/31/17 was $88,000, and most of those monies represent years of delinquency from inactive lot owners and some owners that have abandoned their property. We've got some owners on payment plans that are paying their fair share that needed help during difficult times, or they fell behind for some reason, so they're trying to get caught up. And this is really a remedy that we encourage for anyone that may have a problem or can't, pay the dues on a current basis. Just let Elaine know, and she'll work something out with you so that we can, keep you in the good graces of Swissvale. Many receivable issues that exist from lot owners that do not have a home here in Swissvale, so they don't pay their dues assessments. We place a lien on these properties and hope to receive payment at some undetermined time in the future. Whether they decide to build a home up here or if they try to sell the lot, then we would have a lien on that sale. But we have, the board has agreed to look into ways to take more aggressive steps against lot owners, maybe getting attorneys or collection agencies to begin to pursue them. All right, going forward, the major challenge long-term continue to be investment decisions being made by, for our 5-year plan that we review each year going forward. In 2017, we plan to support, a future project to repave the bottom portion of Swissvale Avenue. We're estimating that cost to be $50,000 in about 3 years, so that value may change. But anyway, so we're putting $15,000 away each year to save up for this project. I have to credit our president, Bob Ashton, for having us develop a 5-year plan to look at our longer-term needs that we need to do to pay for, and also determine how we're going to pay for these, for these projects and to do some planning. Too much in the past, we're kind of going from year to year and looking at different projects that we could do, but there's some things that that need attention long term, and so now we can start to plan on those, paying for those projects and getting them done. There are some other long-term projects that we determined need to be completed. We believe that the roof of the pool building needs to be replaced, and we're in the process of getting bids for that work. Also, through the help of Nick DeMayo, we're going to be looking at possible uses of the pool building, such as establishing a gym workout type facility, but nothing has been decided as of yet. And I'm sure that Nick will be providing more information as he goes along to try to get input from the members. We're also continuing our potential pursuit of developing our own water system that I'll discuss the status of later in the meeting. But if that project came to be, we would definitely need to rely on some of our reserves to support that project. I know there has been some discussion of a bathroom-type facility at the beach, but at this time there are no funds being allocated to that project, and that project has not been approved by the board, and it's not part of our 5-year plan at this time. That's pretty much an overview of the finances. However, at this time, I feel as the treasurer of the association, I need to respond to some recent misstatements and communications mailed out to members of Swissvale. Look, I understand that some of you may not like the way our board operates and may not agree with all the decisions by the board. I don't always agree with the decisions by the board as well, but we have a majority, and so we try to make the best decisions in the best interest of Swissvale. But I believe it feels necessary to point out a misstatement on a recent mailer sent out to homeowners that indicates that non-marina holders have been subsidizing the marina holders for many years based on the current fees charged to slip holders. So let me just tell you what the facts are. On average, the marina brings in annual receipts in excess of $60,000 and has annual cost of about $20,000. This means the excess marina profits of $40,000 is used towards the operating expenses of the association. So based on 400 homes, the dues each homeowner is reduced by $100 annually by the excess marina funds. Or to put it another way, for each boat in the marina paying $1,000, $667 of that amount is being used to pay for the operational costs of Swissvale. So to set the record straight, based on current marina fees, the marina is helping to subsidize all homeowners, non-marina holders and marina holders. Exactly the opposite of what you were told in a recent mailer. And for everyone's information, and people don't realize this because of the different fee structures we have, but the annual dues we receive from homeowners with water, as you know, is $950. That amount does not cover all of the costs of the association's budget. The actual cost per homeowner with water that lives in Swissvale is $1,310 annually. Each homeowner is paying $950 of that amount or $360 less than the actual cost. The association relies on other fees of approximately $150,000 to offset the annual dues. So the profit that we make, for example, on marina fees is included in the $150,000 that we use towards reducing homeowners' dues. That's all I'd like to say on that particular subject, but I thought it was necessary, in my eyes, to set the record straight as the treasurer. The last thing I have to announce is that John Brennan and I run the golf tournament, and this year's tournament is August 11th at Lucky One. The cost is $50, includes green fees, carts, lunches, and prizes. It's really a good time for anybody that wants to come. And the new members that are looking to, to meet people is really I think it's a pretty good time. So just contact John and myself or sign up with Elaine if you're interested in the tournament. And that is my finance report for this year.
Okay. Thank you very much, John. I would like to say at this time that we are very fortunate to have somebody of the caliber of John Barber as our treasurer. If anybody has any questions at all on what John just said, please ask them now.
Question.
Yes.
What would the current slip on Lake Winnipesaukee actually cost? I believe they are relatively $2,000 to $3,000 per slip. If you were to take that additional money, charge the slip owners $2,000, in 1 year you could put a brand new road in Swissvale.
Well, let me respond to it. Let me respond. Yes. Would you state who you are, please?
Oh, yes, certainly. John Cimitaro. I own 126 Swissvale Ave, and I own 80 St. Gallen.
Okay, thank you. Let me respond to it this way. Swissvale is a non-profit organization. We have to abide by what we refer to as our governing documents. That includes such things as our covenants, our bylaws, court settlement cases that we've had, and other things along those lines. And in one of those, it is very clearly stated in one of those court settlement cases that we must treat the marina separately and distinct from the rest of the association. They said that because they do not want, and we're just one of many private associations here. We also belong to a homeowners association called an HOA. There are thousands of HOAs throughout the country. And I receive information weekly, actually, on tips and help as far as how do you manage a meeting like this, how do you properly take minutes, and all kinds of guidelines from HOAs. But the law clearly states that we have to treat the marina separately from the rest of the association. Further, it states that we can only charge a fee to recover our costs for the marina. So that really boils down to two things. One, we must issue the docks or slips on a first-come, first-served basis. We started doing that in the early 80s, and we've been doing it for the last 35, 40 years. We have to issue them on a first-come, first-served basis. That's why we established the waiting list for the docks. Secondly, we can only recover our costs of the marina. Now, John has already told you that we really are over-recovering right now. We're probably charging too much for the marina right now, not too little. But as a board, we have decided to leave it as is and put that extra money into the marina because, unfortunately, the marina also was not being kept up as it should have done. So now we're investing to get the marina up to speed a little bit. So I hope that answers your question.
You can't put, normally if you have a covenant like that, you put an amendment in and state that, put it up for vote. And see if people would be interested.
It's not the covenant. It was done by a court settlement case. And actually, we have also taken a look at what other private associations in the area charge. We did a comprehensive study on that. We charge far more than what any of them charge, because they're under the same rules as being a non-profit organization. We're a non-profit organization, so we can't do it. But we've explained this several times, but I appreciate the question. I hope that does clarify it a bit. Any other questions
Yeah.
of a financial nature?
Well, yeah, so you spoke about the waiting list. Right?
Of a financial nature? Do you have any questions?
I'm getting there. So,
What is your name, please?
Peter Malarkey, I live at 28 German. Are you still currently taking $100 per person on the waiting list?
I don't know, are we?
Yes, I believe you have to.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you know as well as I do that the people, the last page of that list, they'll never see a slip. No, they won't. 30 years. Yeah, well, yeah, maybe when they're dead.
The thing with the waiting list is just that we had people in the beginning that just put their name on and then we never kept it up. But $100 makes it mean you're interested and it allows you to rent today, tomorrow. You can rent an open slip at any time, just see a lane. That's what the $100 allows you to do.
Yeah, but again, you're taking money that probably isn't,
That's not true. I put $100 in 23 years ago. I just got a slip.
23 years.
Yeah, let me just say that I don't want to go, well, I'm going to have a Q&A session when the meeting is over. I'm asking for questions on the finance right now. Any more financially related questions? Yes.
I'm Joanne Leviat at 130 Swissvale Avenue.
Yes.
And thank you very much for that explanation. It was well done.
Thank you.
But is there another section of finance that can have money put into the road repair on Swissvale Avenue before 3 years? Can the
We're actually-
potholes be filled before 3 years?
Yes, you're asking if we can escalate the repaving of the lower half of Swissvale Avenue.
Right.
We're actually looking into whether we can do that.
Good question.
That is a good question.
Could that be put
Rich, do you
before
wanna-
the board?
We're trying to accelerate that, and we have sold some properties, and hopefully, maybe next spring, get that done. Actually, we've been saving money for a little while now. This is year 2 it.
Right.
And so, we're escalating it a little bit by a year, but hopefully next spring, we'll look at our finances and try to
Because
get it done.
that's the whole presentation of coming into Swissvale, and it's
Yeah, right.
not a very good
No,
presentation.
we agree.
Thank you.
One of the things that we've done is we've set up a few reserve accounts where each year we'll put money into the reserve. One is called an infrastructure reserve account. And we've been able to put some money into that over the last couple of years. So what Rich is saying is, gee, we keep that up, we may be able to do something next year, as opposed to his original plan of 3 years out. So, yes.
Anne Marie Bedford, 102 Swissvale Avenue. Do you mean to tell me that you're not going to do anything about those horrible potholes that are there? And the big...
Let me turn it over to the expert.
Where are you talking about?
Excuse me?
Whereabouts?
I know that
If you go on Swissvale Avenue just after the stop sign and you go down the hill, there's a huge piece that's covered with sand that in the winter time decides to be more than that, and then there's a pothole on the right-hand side.
Going down the hill?
Going down the hill. and
Yeah, we can fill those in.
Okay, hang on here for a second.
it's not
The
just-
question is, do we have any more financial questions? So, finance related. Miller?
Miller Kraus, Greyhound Street. Now, I'm wondering, we're looking at this, we're funding this through adding to a special reserve fund from this. What about, we have the reserves in there. I don't know why we can't use those and allocate those to replace them, because this was an unusually hard winter on this road. And if we don't do something with it, it's only going to get a lot worse very quickly. In 1 to 2 years, it's going to be, probably add significantly to the cost.
We may have to do that. We may have to do that, Miller. So we'll be taken a look at that at the end of this year when we go through a budget process and so forth. But you're right, we could do that. What we're trying to do is get ahead of the game a little bit with these reserves. But if we're not quite there, we may have to borrow from another one.
I have a financial question.
You do.
So of the $100 fees you collect, where is that money? Where does it go?
It probably goes into the Marina Reserve.
Probably?
No.
Where does it go?
It just comes in as part of the normal receipts into the association.
Shouldn't that be an escrow somewhere, some interest-bearing account? I mean, it's, as you said, it's separate from,
We're not paying interest on it.
It's not in an escrow account, it's just money that comes in, each year as part of our budget, goes into our annual receipts.
yeah, but he just said the marina's separate, and that goes towards the marina.
Well, I'm telling you, that's where the money goes. It just goes into the normal treasury of Swissvale. It's not a liability to anyone. You get credit for it when the day comes and you get a marina slip.
Right.
But it's not like we owe you $100. Like if you decided you wanted to get off the list, I don't believe that you would get the $100 back.
I understand that, but again, he's separating the marina from everything else. Why is that money not separate?
It's a normal fee that's being charged for anybody that wants to get on the marina list. It's not that big of a number each year, so it's not something that we really need to spend time on accounting for. We have a record of everybody's receipt, and so the time that they are able to use it, it's applied towards their marina.
Okay, thank you. We need to move on. So next on our agenda is the legal update with Mike McManus.
Morning, everyone. Morning, Mike. Is this thing on? Good morning, everyone. Well, during the year, I was involved in a few things this year, including the future water, which we'll get to later on, but we're talking about finances. I'll just make one point on that. And this year we met on a number of occasions with the Lakes Region Water as well as the Public Utilities Commission in New Hampshire, and we're trying to get all our ducks in order to make some informed decisions moving down the road. But I'll just make one point on that committee, which is if you look at our budget, and John does such a good job with the numbers, but you can see from the graph he has there that far and away the expenditure we have for water is our biggest expense. So moving forward, that's our biggest financial issue. So we're going to give it a lot more time, but I use some of my time and energy on that as well as others on the committee, and whomever is going to address that later on, probably John, will get into the meat and potatoes of it a little more. Otherwise, as maybe some of you know and some don't, that I have a legal background, so when I got involved a couple of years ago with the Board of Directors to try to give back a little after my 30 years of being here, I've started picking up and doing the legal issues. So there's many of them that I can't address because they involve members and so forth, and other legal issues that come up. But I deal with those fairly regularly. In addition, last year we worked on a procedure for the sale of Swissvale lots, and I want to take a minute on that, just a minute to kind of explain that to the membership. Swissvale, our association owns lots, and time to time in the past, those lots have been sold off. And what we decided to do is look at that in order to try to put it in line with the covenant we have. And we have, to back up a little, a covenant that in law we say it runs with the land, meaning that each and every one of us, as members of Swissvale, have rules regarding the sale, the purchase, or use of our land that are spelled out in our covenants. One of those says that if a person, an individual, owns a lot, or a legal entity owns a lot, and goes to sell it, our association has to be made aware of that, and then the abutters to that property have a chance to purchase the land for that money. The reason that is done with undeveloped lands is so that we can have a green space policy. In other words, we force, if you're to buy the land under that procedure, you're forced to combine that property with yours. And that cuts down the size of the inventory for other lots that are available to be developed for other members. And it cuts down on the overcrowding of the facilities, the beach, and so forth. So we really are keen on our concern with green space. Now, we likewise, with our covenants, as kind of a sister document, we've produced this procedure for sale of Swissville single lots. So if somebody wants to buy a lot that abuts their property and they're a member here, and we own it, our association owns it, not a private owner. The procedure, by the way, is on the website if anyone wants to see it. So the procedure would be to come to our office manager and let them know you're interested. And then you go through the procedure, and if it works out well, we then have to put a price to it, we have to notify the abutters, and when the smoke clears, if you're to buy that lot, then you're required to combine that with your lot. So it's a similar thing to the covenant that works with the sale of an outside lot. So that's one of the things we put together, and if anyone wants to look at that or look into it, it's on the website, and I believe we have approximately 15 or 17, about 15 single lots, so you may want to check, and anytime you want to check up at the office to see if there is a single lot that we own that abuts your property, you're free to do that. In addition to that, another thing that we've worked on this year is the updating of our bylaws. Now, our bylaws are our legal document which deals with the operation of our corporation. That's the rules, the set of rules that we govern our corporation. And as I mentioned earlier, we have the covenants that run with the land. Those covenants were updated about 3 years ago. But when I looked at the bylaws, I realized they haven't been updated for 39 years. So that was a project that we worked on for about 5 months this year, and we're at the last stage of it now. What happens is we went through and we made a whole bunch of proposed changes, and then I put a draft together. We discussed it at a board meeting, I want to say in January, or thereabouts. We then got a little bit through it, we made a second draft. And as the months went by, we're up to our last draft. And the drafts were disseminated amongst the board of directors as we were going through the proposed revisions. And when we got to our final revision, we've now put the final draft, which I believe is the 4th draft we've got to, we put that on the website. So anyone who wants to take a look at what we suggest are going to be the new bylaws of our corporation, you can see that on the website, and then if you have any comments, you can get back to the office and I'll review them and get back to you if they're significant. With that said, there aren't any big surprises in the changes to the bylaws. They're mostly procedural, not too many substantive changes. But the reason to update the bylaws is to bring them up to date in 2 ways. One is technology-wise. When if you think of it, there was no internet, there was no email at the time, so those type of things as far as giving notice and that type of thing are contained in the updated bylaws. And also as a matter of practice, our association has been practicing a certain way. And one of the bylaws that is updated, that does have probably the most substantive change, is what Bob had mentioned earlier. And that is, when we have an annual meeting, when the bylaws were written, an annual meeting was expected that there'd be a big vote of the membership. Because you're never going to get the quorum needed under the bylaws, you're really never going to have the ability to have a vote. There are, on major issues at an annual meeting. Now, there are other procedures that are set forth in the bylaws that aren't changed that still allow for that, but that's just one change that you'll find in there. So I would encourage everyone as members to take a look at the proposed changes, and if you have any suggestions, you can get back to us before the annual meeting, the next scheduled meeting, which is in August, and we're going to take a vote on it then. And I guess that's my legal update. Anyone have any questions for me?
Mike,
Yes.
are the members going to be able to vote on the changes in the bylaws, similar to what we did with the covenants?
No,
Excuse me?
Why?
because that's not required in the, it's a board of directors decision.
It's required by state law.
It's not, with all due respect, but anyone who thinks it is, you can get me a copy of that, and I'll take a look at it before the August vote. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Yes.
I just wondered if there is some way that the board could bring the changes, show the actual changes, and then allow the membership to see the changes, and then perhaps allow the members at large to vote on it, very much like we vote on officers and the way we voted before in the change in the revised covenants several years ago. I think that way we get open communication.
Thank you. We'll take it under consideration. The problem is there's a logistics problem to that. You know, you don't...
Just mail it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Yes, sir.
You mentioned the logistics problem. In the 21st century, there shouldn't be a logistics problem. We have email. And if we could set it up, we have a list of every ownership, everybody who owns a lot, a home, who owns, I don't know, a boat. We have those lists. Why not put them on email? And we can do this, but before we come to the meeting, you type up what the agenda is, push a button, we've all got it. You know, we can act.
We put our agenda a month ahead of time on the website. The bylaws are on the website, and the changes are.
My point is, we can be more specific than that. There are a fair number of people.
Have you read them, sir?
I'm Don Delano, 34 Geneva.
No, my question to you is, did you read the revised bylaws?
Well, no, my point was,
Okay.
we have a significant number of people who rent their properties and don't have a say in what's going on. And just by the push of a button, we can do that. We could do it with billing. We could do it with all those things. And for those people who are maybe on vacation, they hit their email, they send their check in. Just a suggestion.
Thank you.
Makes sense. Yeah. Why not let us have more of a say in what goes on here?
Well, I do think that Mike said it's on the website. Take a look at it. And if you have any questions or comments, get back to
No, I was
us.
asking, why can't we have more of a say in what goes on here and vote?
Do you come to every meeting?
I will.
Do you now?
What's
How
that?
long have you been in Swissville, and how many board meetings have you been at?
I didn't realize this was a union job. I mean, I've only been here 3 years.
Come on. We meet every Saturday, third Saturday of the month, every month.
But what difference does it make how long I've been here?
Because we've been doing that for 40 years.
Okay.
Information comes
That
out.
doesn't mean it can't change.
Absolutely right. We have an IT group that we're trying to upgrade, and we're trying to get more in the 21st century, as the gentleman said. However, all of us who have day jobs come every third Saturday of the month and have a board meeting.
Okay.
And we put out a lot of information at that meeting. We try to put minutes out, we try to do the best we can. But when you say you don't have a say, I don't think anyone who's ever come to a board meeting and asked to bring up something, we said no. Have we?
No,
Nothing I know, Stevie, no.
Right, we're talking about voting on new bylaws, that's what we're talking
I'm not sure what this gentleman's talking about.
That's what it is. Okay.
Well, I think Mike did say that the revised bylaws are on our website. So they're there. So people can read them.
Could we see the changes highlighted from the previous bylaws to what is actually
We'll figure
the
that out.
change?
We could do that.
figure out from too? Sure.
Yeah, we could do that.
So I have one quick question. So I believe it was 4 board meetings ago, Mike spent about an hour going through all of the proposed changes, and we highlighted what was proposed to be changed. So that's already been reviewed once at an open board meeting.
4 times.
Probably 4 times, so.
He's been bringing a section
Right.
each month, so everybody at the board meeting. You know, our board meetings are one of our major means for communicating. It's not just the minutes. I mean, you can look onto the website and read the minutes. But what we put on the minutes are primarily things where there has been a motion made and voted upon, or whether there's some action items. It's we don't put every discussion into the minutes. And we're doing that because of legal advice and HOA advice, and we're doing it for a specific reason. If you really want to know what's going on, our monthly board meetings are open. It's not like this board meets every day to discuss everything. They meet once a month. So a lot of these board members I really don't have much of a dialogue with, and I want those meetings to be open and informative. They should be free to say whatever they want to say without worrying about whether they're going to wind up in the minutes or not. So it's very specific as to what we put in the minutes. If you really want to know what's going on, you really should be attending those board meetings.
Can I just say, with all due respect, I think that Swissvale is unique. It's wonderful, but a lot of the residents live, or these landowners and homeowners live at a distance. So it makes it much more difficult to attend in person. So if we knew, perhaps you could put them, you could do your board meetings via Skype, or so people could come. But people need to be informed about what you're making the decision on before the decision, rather than if we rely on the minutes.
Okay.
That's after the fact.
Well, we do put out the agendas, and yes, we do put out the agendas.
Thank you.
So people should know ahead of time what's going to be discussed at the board meeting. And as I said, the minutes do include all motions made, votes taken, and any action items that come up. It's just the general discussions that don't get there. Okay. Thank you very much, Mike.
Could I, excuse me,
Again,
excuse me,
Question, have a whole
question.
question and answer period
Question.
at the end,
yeah,
but
we're going to
5 more
We got-
sections to go.
go, but
I'm just picking up on this gentleman's question, which was, how do we get to voice our opinion more? Do you ever take a vote? Are there never any votes from us? It's all done through you who have been
Well,
board
that's called
members for
representative
years?
government, isn't it? That's basically what you have here is a representative government, like you do in the United States Congress.
Well, I don't know,
That's what
you-
you do when you voted last month.
You have been on the board for years. Many of these people have been
right.
on the board for years. I mean, how do we have a voice?
we are supposed to be representing you. We're the
Well,
board.
I don't.
Okay, we need to move on. Yes,
I'm trying to say, I'm kind of in the back, so I apologize. Aaron Reed, 16 Langdorf.
would you please identify yourself?
Aaron Reed, 16 Langdorf.
Okay.
I just want to say that we do actively have a say. We vote for this board. And in any successful company, and as Tom stated in the United States of America, you vote for who your representatives are. And you need to rely on them and put the trust in them. They're open to any suggestions. I've never sent in a comment that hasn't been responded to, or a request for information that hasn't been responded to. We all have access to every member of this board. With our technology, we can do it every day if you wanted to. We voted this board in, and sometimes they're going to make the decision. I'm okay with that. I just want to say that I am okay with that.
Thank you very much.
I'd just like to make out, I really appreciate that lady's remarks. That's appreciated by all the board members as we all put in our volunteer time to do this. But, as Mike explained, these bylaw changes, I mean, there is no like substantial changes or secrets that's being changed in how we're going to run this place. It's just updating the language of the bylaws to what's actually happening today in Swissvale. there's no hidden agenda in these changes in the bylaws. It's just updating the documents so it makes sense to what's going on today. And the changes and the bylaws are all accessible to everybody that wants to actually review them. And I would tell you that it's not really exciting reading. I really agree. I have to give substantial credit to Mike McManus for actually taking on this project. It was a huge project. It took a lot of time for him to do it, to go through them, to make the recommended changes, and he should really be applauded.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Mike. We have really, I said we're fortunate to have John Barber on this board. Let me tell you, we're really fortunate to have Mike McManus on as well. And I'll tell you, one of the things that stands out with guys like these, they don't wait for me or to give them direction on what they should be doing. They take it upon themselves to do it. John took it upon himself to look into the receivables and see what we could do about working that issue, and he's actively working it. Mike suggested, when he suggested he was going to redo the bylaws, I'm saying, wow, that's a big task. And it is. And he has taken that upon himself, and he's come to every meeting, maybe 4 or 5 different meetings, to talk about different sections. Yes?
Can you look into making the board, Steve Miller, 81 St. Maurice, can you look into making the board meetings more accessible via Skype or conference call for non-board members?
We will look into that. We will look into that.
Bob, may I?
Go.
Ginny Davis. I was on the board a few years ago and then I was not. And at that time, Nick and I actually worked on coming up with a simplified agenda process, as well as getting things onto the agenda and votes and all that. And for those of you who have been at the meetings, you will know that I am a firm believer that anything that is proposed, unless it's an actual emergency, should be discussed, and then any proposal made should sit on the website or on the agenda to be voted on at the next meeting. I also think in this day and age, we can't have an agenda on the website at least 2 weeks, and as someone who drove up from New Hampshire, from Massachusetts to the meetings, 2.5 hours, I like to know when I wasn't a member, I needed to know what was on the agenda in enough time so that I could plan whether or not I had to drive up. So I do agree that the agendas in the minutes could be more specific, and I wish they were. And I do think that I understand the argument that we should keep them there has been advice that we keep them fairly bland, but I do get concerned sometimes that is a double-edged sword, and if they're too bland and not specific, that also could come back to haunt. So I do, for those of you who have spoken about that, I know that many of us on the board would agree that we are at a point in time when we have the technology available that we should utilize it to get things out. And I think it's anything that happens 2 weeks prior to the meeting, if it's not an emergency, leave it for the next one. If it's not on the agenda, it shouldn't be discussed at the meeting. So
Thank you, Jenny. Okay, we need to move on. Nick, you're up. Administrative Committee.
I take care of the administrative portion of the association, and under that, I'd like to talk a little bit about the business administration. This past year, we went through reviewing our policies and procedures. There were many of them that had to be updated due to date changes and other issues to make them complete. We did that. They are on the website now, and they've been approved by the board. So take a look at them, and you can get easy access to them on the board. The postings to the website over the last several years was very difficult, but now we've gotten some professional help from admin internet, Scott Bates. And actually posting things to the website has become a lot easier, and we're hoping to make it even better. So in the future, we're going to see some significant changes to that. The website is being reviewed now for content, manageability, and ease of use and ease of finding content. And again, the website is our main means of communication with the membership. On the public relations side, I say public relations, I mean membership relations. We anticipate more use of something called Monkey Survey. Monkey Survey is a piece of software that allows us to send out 10 questions. We get back to 10 questions, it analyzes and puts things together for us, and gives us a sense of what people are trying to tell us. I think in the future we're going to see more of these. There was one sent out recently about a possible exercise group. There was some difficulty in getting that linked properly. That's being addressed. But the purpose of the survey is to solicit input from the membership. What does the membership want? Now you may say, oh, you're not voting. Well, that's fine, but we want information. We need to know what people are thinking, and we're trying to do more of that. This past year, there were initiated several studies, and one of them was the reuse of the pool building. And that study has taken its first steps. And the first step was to clean up and reorganize the inside of the building. We're about 75% complete on that right now, and we're pretty pleased with the progress. We're charged with doing development of a new layout for the building, internal, and there will be a presentation to the Board of Directors this fall. We'll know about it in advance, and that's when the answer to the study will be brought forward. We did identify the need for a new roof, and as John said, that is presently being specified so we can go out to bid, and we hope to have that bid out this fall. There was an exercise group feasibility study authorized by the board, and that committee was established to look at the possibility of creating an exercise area for use in Swissville. It's a complex study. It's a feasibility study. It's not, are we going to just build this thing? It includes a lot of work to try to understand what size facility are we talking about, what kinds of equipment are we talking about, how does one pay for these pieces of equipment, where would we put such a facility. This study, I anticipate, will take about a year to complete, because we'll want to send out surveys. We'd like to get input from the membership as to what they would like to see, or they don't want to see. So again, I hope I'm answering some questions that have already been addressed to us. Again, we anticipate the initial briefing to the Board of Directors this fall, but it's not going to be the last one. It will be an informational meeting of the progress of the study group and where we are, and we may have to take redirection by the board if they review it and don't like something, or the membership gives us information that says you should be going in this direction and not that direction. The last study that was authorized is something that we're calling the Winter Support Group. And I want to thank Tom Funk for initiating a lot of this. This is a result of the last 2 years we've had some fairly severe storms here. We had that huge storm in April last year, year before last, where all the trees came down. We were without power and everything for almost a week. It was difficult to get around. You couldn't even get on the action plan as to how to continue operating, get information to the membership. There were a lot of members who wanted to find out what happened to their property. Corey Lane was running around looking at people's houses to decide whether a tree fell on them or not. We're trying to incorporate all that into this study. The possibility for the winter support group is just that. We think that the likelihood of an event is larger in the winter than it is in the spring or the fall. We also feel that the population is lowest in the winter. So we're trying to get together a group of people, residents essentially, which will allow sharing of information so that you'll have a list of who's available and what kind of service can they offer or help with. I have a bunch of ladders and a bunch of carpentry tools, and so-and-so has some electrical experience, and you can come over and help you with that. And somebody else just wants to come and help you dig shovel out or whatever. So we're in our infancy on this study. But again, I think you're going to see some monkey surveys come out. We'll try and get a better group together and get a feeling for what the membership would like to receive out of this. Okay? This is hopefully going to be a low-cost thing, but it will be one where we can share information amongst each other. Okay. With that, thank you very much. That's the end of the administrator report.
Thank you, Nick. Well done. Next is the Infrastructure Committee report.
Just one question. Mark Schurz from 31 Spitzen. I've been here a resident for a while, and I've just started trying to volunteer. And I've had my complaints in the past. I think we all have some complaints. It's easier to complain. But I think one of the best things, too, all of us in this room here, we're going to be a great organization if we use that volunteering. And that's what I think we really need to do. My question to you is, if we want to volunteer, we don't know what for. Who do we go to ask, hey, we want to help?
Our focus is
And that means if I live in New Jersey, I can still do something in New Jersey and not have to drive up here. So that the volunteering doesn't mean I have to be close.
Elaine and her best friend buddy walk around this facility 2 times a day. They see everything. They understand what's going on. She's the focal point for us, but if you could contact any one of us either also.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
We really do.
Thank you.
We certainly do appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Infrastructure. Rich.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, basically the standard report for roads. We've been grading every spring. We will be doing some gravel work, some extensive gravel work. Probably on St. Moritz Street this year. We're down to the base rock along almost that whole length of the road. Depending on funds, what we have available for gravel, we'll just continue going on other roads. We're planning on changing out some existing culverts that have collapsed. You notice on Swissvale Avenue, there's a dip. That's a big culvert that's been there for many years, and it's slowly eroding away. That'll be changed out. We've bought the materials, and just waiting for the summer rush to get out of the way. There's a number of other culverts that we're going to be changing out also that we, are in disrepair. As far as potholes, Anne-Marie, yeah, we do. I filled some of them myself using the Swissvale tractor, fill the bucket with dirt, and go around and do some. I've had members come to me and say, Rich, I don't mind. I got some potholes in my street. Is there any place I can get dirt? Yes, there is. Yeah, just give me a call. We have a stockpile of gravel. And again, it's been very helpful. It's not very cost effective that when we have 1 or 2 potholes to call in a contractor, go fill those up or we get whacked with it. But again, I've had a couple of members come in, they have pickup trucks, they go and put some dirt in the back of the pickup, they go fill the hole, they're happy, they do their street, and it really makes a difference. It doesn't take much time. We did a big project. I got approached by the town highway supervisor for plowing before last winter, and because the trees were just growing out of control. I don't know why. So we did 20 roads in Swissvale, taking care of the overhang. So now the plows, when they come down, they're not ripping off mirrors and so on and so forth. And that's about all. Again, we're just constantly working on the roads. We talked about the project about paving the bottom 1,400 feet of Swissvale Avenue, and we're just looking at things in the future. Thank you.
Covered in the newsletter to replace the water line for the members that have the old line.
Water is the next section.
Oh, okay.
Going to go right into water?
That's like water, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, go right into water.
Has a question. I walked all of Swissvale, and after the storm, there's been many huge trees that have been pulled up. The roots and everything are still there. Just curious as to who's responsible to clean those up. Is it the person whose land it's on?
If the tree's on private property, yeah, that person is responsible. If it's on Swissvale property, and we did spend, about $3,600, John, or $5,000?
$12,000.
$12,000. You're taken down from that a year ago March storm, and we're looking at taking care of some more. Again, we just don't want to go crazy and spend $30,000 all at one lump.
I was just curious. They're huge.
Yep.
Barbara, if you got,
Thank you, Barbara.
if you know of a spot, let me know, okay?
Pardon me?
If you know of some that you think are serious, let me know, and I'll see whether they're ours, Leanne, or an individual's, okay?
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, why don't you roll right into water?
Yep, on our water distribution system, the system is in pretty good shape. We've located and hired an expert leak locator, and the one day he came in, he inspected, I think, about between 40 and 50 house service valves and their pipelines. Out of that, we located 4 leaks in that one day. And that was all along Swissvale Avenue. These are some of the oldest houses. This is why we ask people that if you have a house that's 30 years old and your house service line has never been changed, it's due, because we're not sure what kind of piping that the original contractor put in, but we know that they fail. From one little pinhole, that amounts to about 4 gallons a minute. A couple of years ago, we were getting 0 ratings in the middle of the night, and now we have not been able to achieve that. We get down to a couple, 2 or 3 gallons once in a while. So, again, please look into that. You are responsible for your house service line from the shut-off valve into your house. Any leaks that occur, and it's for your own safety too. You'll be responsible for the water lost. We're going to have that expert in again. We're constantly we're trying to locate everybody's house shut-off valve, and we have a GPS system so that in the middle of the winter when there's a foot of snow, or 3 inches of snow, you can't find these valves. It's very tough. So if anybody knows where their valves are, please put a little piece of ribbon around them or a flag or paint them. I've been painting them blue when I take my walks in the day, whenever I find them. Any questions?
Just a question I have before. To replace the line, I mean, is it a blind process for the associate owner? Is it just you contact and it's replaced? Do you have a company and the time involved and the expense? How do you do it? If you want to replace your line, who do you call? How do you do it?
We recommend using our water operator, Dawson Excavation. You can use other water operators as long as they're licensed, so they can have the ability to shut the water on and off correctly. Once a new house installation is put in, that a home builder would have to pay for the whole thing, then we become owners of that shut-off valve. So if there's a problem with the valve, Swissvale wants to be the ones that operate it or have a licensed operator to do it.
Okay, I know previously I had
again, you can utilize Dawson Excavation, that is our water operator.
So that's what we can do. What's the timeframe to get it all, like, what is it?
I don't know. It's,
You know, the expense of it.
I do not, I'm not gonna estimate anybody's expense. I get caught more than once.
Set forward the cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, running the ledge, it's more money, whatever. That's up to the contractor and you. Any other questions? Yes.
Rick, are you also responsible, or does it come under you for the street signs? Because I just wanted to report St. Gallen street sign disappeared.
Street signs report to Elaine
I
and
just ordered them.
Oh, thanks. Okay.
They're on order.
All right, thank you.
That's been a common problem in the past, and so you just report it to the business manager and she'll take care of it. One last question.
Last year, you initiated this water shut-off in the fall, water turned back on in the spring, and it sounded like a good idea, but I think it got too legal, and all of a sudden you had to be on the property when they turned the water back on, which means that I had to make a special trip from Massachusetts up here in the spring for them to turn the water back on so I could go back home. I understand the issue.
Let me answer that. I know exactly what you're saying. I'm going to be discussing with the board the possibility of creating a waiver document that you could sign that would actually alleviate the need for you to be there. That would mean you'd be accepting all responsibility if you forgot to close your valves, or if you did something, if, you know, it would be your responsibility, but
It adds up fast if something's open, you're right.
but I've actually experienced the same thing. A neighbor asked me to be there when the water was being turned on, and I was there, and I'm saying, why am I here? Because it wasn't necessary. So we're going to try and create a waiver.
Yeah, I mean, in my case, I shut my house down anyway, but I still have the water coming into the house, and shutting off that valve is that extra security. But I already have shut my house down and drained it, so yeah, I'm more than willing to sign a waiver like that.
We're going to create a waiver for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Weatherman. Okay.
Okay, we need to move on. I want to make a comment, or maybe Rich can make a comment on our irrigation systems. You want to talk to that or not?
not particularly, but I mean,
Well, then don't. I will.
we have a water ban. It's very significant. This is something that comes from the Department of Environmental Services, DES, and it goes to all our water supplies in the state. We're in a drought situation, especially up here. Further south, they've gotten quite a bit of rain. Up here, it's a little touchy, and we've been informed by our water supplier, a total outside water ban. We try to keep track of anybody that has an automatic irrigation system to shut it down. We think there's still a couple operating. We can tell by our telemetry system when the people's systems come on. So please, if you see anything, just let us know. We're not out for a witch hunt. We just want to get everything buttoned up. We lost 10 pounds of water pressure during the 4th of July time. It was slowly gotten back. I think we're finally seeing the regular pressure or within a couple of PSI. And that's how significant it is. We used a lot of water during the first 2 weeks of July especially.
I will simply add one comment that obviously irrigation systems is something that needs to be managed. Our water supply, Lakes Region Water, is super sensitive to this. And when they put out a water ban, that's one of the things they're really focusing on, and whether we're using our irrigation systems or not. So please abide by the water ban. It will save us a lot of headaches down the road. Thank you very much.
Next,
John, Common Properties?
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
the other John.
Sorry, wrong John.
Which John wants the mic?
Which one wants the mic? Future water.
Which one? Yeah. John Barber. All right.
Our insurance policy paid up to date?
Yes.
Okay, future water. This has been a long-standing road, long-standing subject. And I feel that as a board member, it's the most important issue, certainly one of the most important issues that we face in Swissvale long term. Because we all want to make sure water's coming out when we turn on the faucets, obviously. I really, before I get into some of the issues that we face, I really have to acknowledge, just so everybody knows, that the people on this Future Water Committee, Rich DeForge, Ron Prescott, Steve Testa, Mike McManus, and Bob Ashton. You have no idea the number of meetings we have with different people and companies and legal people discussing this situation. We have to meet sometimes with PUC. We have many meetings with Lake Region Water. We have meetings with HydroSource, our engineer that's overseeing the possible development of our system. And the members of this committee are putting in a lot of extra time, to meet with these people and to make sure that the right decisions are made for all of us. And I'd like to just acknowledge their efforts. There are several challenges that need to be decided in the best interest of Swissvale owners. Obviously, we all want a safe and secure water supply for our members, over the next 25 years and beyond. We want to make sure that we have an ample supply of water for all current and future Swissvale owners. And we need to determine the most cost-effective option that will allow us to best achieve these requirements of safe, secure, and ample water supply. We're presently evaluating and continuing to evaluate, three options that we have to face, to meet these challenges. The first option is just basically maintain our existing 30-year agreement with Lake Region Water as our sole water supplier. This is the way our system is being operated now. We purchase our water from Lake Region Water. Second option is to develop our own water source, storage facility, and maintain our current distribution system. Swissvale actually owns our, the distribution system under the roads, to run our entire water system. As many of you know, in the past, we've determined that we own a water source here in Swissvale on a 44-acre site we own called Spring Hill. Third option, which is a more current option, is we received a request from Lakes Region Water to sell our distribution system to Lakes Region Water at a price yet to be determined. And this would turn over our entire water system to be operated by Lakes Region Water, who would be our water supplier for the foreseeable future. To briefly comment on each option, maintaining our 30-year agreement with Lakes Region Water has limitations on what we can do. As predicted in the past, the cost of water is increasing, and in 2018 we're expecting the water cost increase by about 12%. The only control we have on this cost is to maintain and reduce the amount of water that we as owners use. However, our usage is increasing every year, and we receive timely reports from Ron Prescott letting us know where we stand each and every month, which means that our costs are going to increase just based on usage, and additionally, Lakes Region Water's rates also increase every year. So those costs are continuing to escalate each and every year by staying with Lake Region Water. I think off the top of my head, I think that, the annual cost for each homeowner for water is about $550, which is part of our budget. Personally, I believe that developing our own water system is the most cost-effective way for us to proceed. However, as we pursue this option, we've also faced a lot of, let's call them red tape obstacles that need to be resolved before we can even consider this option. And there's more information on that, more detail on that in the annual report, if you want to see some of the things that were involved with that. The third option of selling our own water system to Lakes Region Water, without a doubt, would be the most expensive option to our members. However, if we do sell our system, at a price that can be mutually beneficial to all the Swissvale members, we would have to consider this option further, which we are doing so. We're trying to evaluate all of these different systems, options. All members can be assured that as we continue to pursue these options, we will keep you informed as best that we can. Good job.
Thank you, John. Moving along, the other John.
The other John. I have a question. I have a question about the water.
Yes.
Future. Is putting meters on houses not an option?
It is.
Okay. I just didn't see it on here.
It's part of the option of selling the distribution system to Lakes Region Water. Another question?
Yes. Yeah.
Kevin.
What about wells? Are we like in a contract not to allow wells, and would that alleviate some of the problems in the future? Individual wells?
Any comment on that?
My quick comment is, there's two, are you talking potable water for your home use, or a well just to irrigate your
Yeah,
water?
potable water, just so you would get off of the system.
I mean, that would have to, that's a state approved permit, then I think if even a town approved permit.
Can't do it if there's water available.
Yeah, just clean water.
Yeah, so I guess if, if water's in the street, DES isn't gonna allow it.
Okay.
That's what we've been told.
I thought that was like an agreement with Mason.
I have an answer to Kevin's question. On each of your certified plot plans, there's a location for a safe well. If you have a certified plot plan of your property, there is a location where you can safely put it.
I think what Rich is saying is that that does not mean that the state would allow you to do it, even though you have the marker there.
Yes. Just one question. Is there any consideration for putting in fire hydrants with the new water system?
No, absolutely not. Minimum size for a.
Not even,
I'm talking a 6-inch.
not even like one every block
We
or
have no
something?
6-inch water lines in all of Swissvale.
So I understand that.
So we do have a water supply down by, the beach parking lot that the fire trucks can plug into it. It sucks water out of the lake. And there's another one down in States Land.
These are good questions. John, you want to take a look?
Sure. Good morning, John Brennan, Common Properties. I'll get into the projects we did this year. Actually, it was last year, 2017. It's been mentioned in here about the storm we had here. I apologize, but I happened to be in Mexico when it happened. But anyways, I guess this is...
The mic came off.
What came off? Oh, okay. Let me go back. Okay, I was away anyways. But we spent fall out here removing about 30 trees. And we're not done, Barbara. You had brought that up. We aren't done. We know of at least a half a dozen more that we have to go back and get. So if people see something, give me a list. We'll figure out whether it's on some private property or it is something Swissvale may have to take care of, or just let it die on the property. We'll go that route, okay? This year in the fall, we plan on going back in the entrance. It could snow before we got a chance to clean up down the entrance. So we can plan on the fall going in and chipping the whole entrance up and cleaning that up, grading it up like we have done at the beach and other areas, side of the clubhouse, so it's a much cleaner area. Also down there, I have the wall is gonna, I'm looking at Andy, that's why it came to my mind. The wall's been falling down for years.
Andy's 83.
83? This is useless. The wall's been falling down for years, and so what I've been doing is I have some money this year. I'm going to send out a bid to get at least one side of it done. It is like people have mentioned in here, I forget who it was, it is our entrance, and I think it should look proper. I think it should look proper, so we're going to work on the wall down there later this year too. What else do I have? Oh, this year we, actually at the end of last year, Ron Prescott helped out and we went down and we got some new trees for the entrance. And I think I wasn't really happy to go tear everything apart here. But after doing it all, I think it really looks, the property looks a lot better. And so that was one thing, and I really appreciated Ron's knowledge on the thing. We added this year some tables up here at the kids area, over at the top of the ski slope, and a couple of down at the marina. And I know that people have been asking for some more other around here. It seems like there's more people and there's more need for tables. We may consider doing something at the ski slope for people that would like to sit over there. And I haven't worked it out yet, but if we can do something at a reasonable price, we might put an area over there that you can sit and look at the lake and relax in the afternoons over there. We're going to LEDs on all of our fixtures in here. Last year we replaced quite a bit of them in the clubhouse and at the beach. And when the fixtures break down here, we're going back with LEDs, and we're also replacing our bulbs with LEDs. And in the future, we're looking for more lighting in common areas of Swissvale, an earlier cleanup, and a more general cleanup of the common areas of Swissvale. That's basically all I had. Thank you.
Tony Borsini. My name's Tony Borsini. I run the docks. I've been up in Swissvale for 30 years now. I live on Brenner Street. I retired about 5 years ago, so I thought it's about time that I kind of stepped up and helped out with the board to do some things with the marina. To date, we've replaced 14 of the docks. Last year we did 5. Due to the limited time that I had to replace the docks, because I had to wait for all the boats to get out before I could have the guy come in and start replacing them. You can see in green are the ones that we've already completed. We did jump around to the other side a little bit because those docks were in dire need of repair for safety reasons. So those next 5 yellow ones will be the ones that we do this fall, and then we'll continue on around, and we'll keep assessing these other docks as they need to be repaired or fixed. We'll deal with them. So if anybody has an issue with the docks, they'll let me know, or let Elaine know, and I can get someone down there to fix it. Year to date, we've spent about $65,000 on repairs going back to 2015. And I can only, with the time machine, I can only do like 5 a year. But all that money is being funded by the Marina Fund, so it's not coming out of any general funds. I've got a budget in this year for the next 5 docks. And then going beyond that, I have a plan that I would like to put some type of a boardwalk around the marina with lighting, to make it a little bit better accessible to the docks, because some of them you have steps that go down and it's kind of tricky. And we've addressed some of those issues already. But my goal is to make it really nice. So it's the first thing you see when you come over the bridge. You see the marina, you see the docks, and I think that's a big impact to the people that are coming in. That's about it. I got all the canoe racks. We did add a few canoe racks out there, and we still have a waiting list for canoe racks. I'm kind of limited to the space that I can do. The other thing I wanted to thank people was, if they're having the boat out of the docks for a week or 2 for repair, or they're not going to use it, to let us know, and they have been. So there's been an opportunity for a lot of rentals this summer. So that's worked out well. I appreciate the notice. Yes.
Those wouldn't be bocce courts, would they? Good one, Ken.
Thank you very much.
Tom, can I ask a question?
Yep.
Is it true that if you have a home in trust, and you happen to be a owner of the dock, that dock can then follow the home in trust, and then it basically locks that dock into that homeowner, into that trust? Is that true?
If you own it, the house stays in the family. I mean, Mike can address that legally, but if the house stays in the family, like say, I die, house goes to my son, the dock stays with the property.
And so you're tying common property to individual property?
No. No.
What do you mean no?
The trust is the owner of the property.
Trust is the owner of the property. I don't understand that.
You put my name on Mike, go on the trust.
Well, the simple way to put it is, we've always been on a first come, first first served basis. And if you continue to own the property through your family, no matter what type of legal entity you own your property with, it stays that way. It's been that way forever. And people shouldn't be surprised to hear it because it's been in a place for 50 years. That's about it.
Kevin?
So, this dock assignment was changed in January, correct?
No, I told you that, Julie.
The dock is assigned to the landowner, the member, right? When the member dies, or passes it off to his son, that son is a new member. That new member now goes on the waiting list. So now it's a new member.
It's not a new member, it's a house, it's the property, it's a house. It's not a new member.
In the past, I know this is a very touchy subject, but in the past, before the January meeting, the dock is assigned to the member. The member being me. I have the dock, it's assigned to me. It's not assigned to the house, it's assigned to the member. In January meeting, they changed it and added a trust, and you also added the child, the grandchild, the great-grandchild. The list is never going to move. It's never going to move.
It moves forcibly.
90% of the people that are on there are giving their places to their son. Both slips are not going to move. The waiting list was designed, when you're a new member, you go to the bottom of the list. When you take your house, you sell it to your son, you die, you give it to him, he is now a new member. The waiting list rule is the new member goes to the waiting list, because now he's going to walk in, here's your slip. You get the slip now. You never waited a day. Meanwhile, everybody else waited 20 years. And then they get it. That's correct.
Correct.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know, I'm friends with a lot of you guys up here on the board, but it's a new member. And you have to look at it like the way it was written, and it was...
Doesn't it belong to the address?
It's a common property, it's a marina common property.
35, I live at 35 Oberdorf. If you go on the waiting list, it doesn't say 35 Oberdorf. It says Kevin Barrett. Remember.
Do they have to pay $100 fee as well?
You can't be a member unless you're a property owner.
Right, and if you're a property owner's member's son, and the property gets changed, it's given to the son through whatever, sale, inherited, he is now the new member.
If the husband dies, if the wife...
Okay, we have to move on. I got to tell you. We're going to have a Q&A at the end. Oh, we're going to have a Q&A at the end. We're moving along.
Carolyn,
Can I ask, is the marina common property?
can we do one thing, sir? Can we be respectful to let these committee members make their presentations? And at the end, I guarantee you there's a slide that says Q&A, because I made the slides. Okay? What do you mean you hope so? We always do.
Morning. I'd first like to just take a moment to thank Stacy DeSimone for all the work that she's done in the past. It certainly didn't take me very long to discover how much work she really put in. This is a daunting task, and I also want to thank her for all the guidance that she has provided me and the help that she continues to give me. That being said, we've started off the year really well with a great New Year's Eve party, had some wonderful volunteers, followed by some wonderful events, culminating last weekend with our comedy show, and hopefully you all had a chance to attend that. We still have some great events to come that I hope to see you all at. Tonight at the beach we have the Ricky and the Giants Band. They haven't been here for a few years, but they're a really wonderful band. If anybody does sing like Tony and Mike do, the band has asked if anybody would like to sing. You are more than welcome to go up and sing with the band, and you can just let me know. I'll be at the beach this evening, and they're taking requests as well. Next weekend, we have a pig roasting event. I believe today is the last day, Tom Ketty, that somebody could still pay, or are we
Yes,
done?
I can accept people today.
Today is the absolute last day. If you haven't paid for the pig roast, the pig roast will be going on all day next Saturday at the beach, and then in the evening, we will have a DJ, and we will be doing Family Feud. So if you would like to submit a family or a Swissvale family, starting at 7 o'clock, we'll be running a Family Feud. We do have a few prizes for the winning family. And then beginning in August, we will have Game Time Trivia. We'll be hosting a trivia night here at the clubhouse. Everybody's welcome for that. John Barba already spoke about the golf tournament, but the evening of the golf tournament, we have our very favorite band, Rob and Jody duo, will be down at the beach as well. And then we will end our summer with a band at the beach for our Labor Day.
There's a cornhole tournament.
And the cornhole tournament, August 18th, if anyone would like to enter, just leave your name with the business office, and then we'll form the teams and we'll be in touch. If anybody has any new ideas, I would love to hear them. And as always looking for volunteers. Thank you. Hope to see everyone tonight.
Okay, moving right along, we're going to have an IT update from Scott Bates. He's the owner of Admin Internet. And once again, even though he's a homeowner in Swissvale, he's volunteering his time and his expertise to do a lot of good things in the technology space. So, Scott?
I don't know, I think everyone will be able to hear me. Steve, do we have any other slides up there? So our focus this last year, I'll be pretty quick, we needed to upgrade the marina network that was down there. It was getting old, technology's changing so fast, we needed to upgrade it. We had a Meraki system, we replaced it with a commercial grade Ubiquity system. The primary reason for changing manufacturers is that Meraki and Cisco required an annual subscription that was in the tune of thousands of dollars. This system doesn't. It's adopted at hospitals, school districts, universities, even towns use it. It's a mesh network. That diagram is for the nerds in the group here. The circle nodes there represent the antennas that we have. It's what's known as a mesh network, so if we've got some low reception areas for your portable devices, share that with Elaine, and literally for less than a couple $100 we can add an antenna booster in a particular area. I want to just briefly say, since I've got a broad audience here, we can have a network that accepts 5,000 people on it on the beach, but we're throttled by one thing. Much like the reason why we can't have fire hydrants because we don't have big water pipes, we can't have 300 people watching Netflix on the beach because we're throttled by a home cable system. So just remember, when you're sitting on the beach and you're trying to pull up HBO or something and it doesn't work, it's because it can't work. It's like being in your house with everyone on the beach all using your network. So that's our throttle. And let's be candid. It's ideally used for browsing the internet, reading web pages, checking out your email, maybe your bank account, which is why it's secure, okay? We do have a password that everybody knows. The purpose of that is just to shake back and forth so that any transmission that you send over it is secured and can't be sniffed out. The second piece, and I don't know if Steve has another slide or not. Oh yeah, we've got all kinds of utilization reports. That's boring, Steve. This, and that tells us that we've got all kinds of throttles. We can see what type of activity. We can go to the next slide, Steve. We're able to remotely manage everything that's going on so that we're able to identify at a moment's notice if the network is not operating properly. It's really self-sustaining, almost self-healing. The worst case thing that we need to do is beg Elaine and Buddy during one of their walks to go down there and literally just do a power cycle to the devices and it'll come back up. We'll hit the next slide, Steve. The next big area, this is what we call a heat map. When you see those red dots reflect where we have antennas, and those antennas burst out power. Now, I would share with you that in the lighter areas, the visual implication is that we don't have a lot of strength, but in that triangulation that we have, in fact, we've got tremendous strength. There is one thing, this network is Swissvale. We've got a competing network, somebody that's got like an antenna that beams down there. Hopefully we can identify that individual and have them reduce their strength because it seems to be sporadic in what's going on. The other thing that you'll see up there is the surveillance camera system that needed to be upgraded. It wasn't like there was nothing wrong with the old system. Again, it's just technology's improved. We have 4K wireless cameras. They're on a secure and separate network. All of that information is retained for over 45 days on a network video recording system, and it is available if there is an incident that is reported. We can review it, provide it to the police so that they can help them in their project or their research. The next project for us, I don't know if I have another slide, Steve, but I don't think I do. Nope. The next project for us is we're going to move up here to the clubhouse. We've got to enhance the security system that's here as well, and we need to restore that what's going on the Snow Hill camera to the website as well. So those are the next things that we have going on, along with website updates and budgetary planning for the future. And just as on the website, the website's a reflection of the organization. If you want to be involved with what's going on with the website, be involved. Otherwise, it's just volunteers that are doing it. I know that Tom is doing a lot of work. Other people, the more people are involved with what's going on with the website, the more it reflects our community. So that was my super quick version of what's going on.
Thanks, Frank.
Outstanding. Once again, we're very fortunate to have somebody of Scott's ability and technical knowledge to help us at this. And hang on for a second. We're going to go into Q&A in a minute.
I want to be over here.
Ask it.
I'm kicking and screaming into the 21st century and actually now have a router in my house, and now I'm going to get cameras and a security system and that kind of thing. Is there any advantage to me getting one system over another that would allow it to link up here if that's something?
I really think you should be taking this up offline.
Well, yeah, there's that, but also I would just point out that our network that's down at the beach or our network that's up here is going to be secure to us. We're not going to have others jumping onto that or other camera systems jumping onto that. But I'll talk to you one-on-one after if you've got a question.
Okay, I just want to add one or two things to Scott's presentation. I actually spent my whole life in IT, but I've been out of it for a while, and I'm a little bit dated.
We all are.
Happens quick.
You have no idea. So part of what we're doing here is Scott has been kind enough in a very kind way to educate me and to explain the difference between a monitoring system and a surveillance system. Originally, I was going to set it up so we would have 2 or 3 people who could monitor a network, and now I realize that's not such a good idea. So it's a surveillance system, and the cameras are up 24/7. They're extremely clear. If you took a look at them, they can actually detect license plates in the parking lot and read them. We can slow the frames down to look at it 1 frame at a time. It's a very good system, and as you can see, it covers the whole area that we wanted covered. However, when you put in a surveillance system, you also assume some responsibility here. And I have talked in the past about best business practices in my conversations in the past that have dealt mainly with financial matters. One I would call a cash one-off type transactions like we had with the New Year's Eve party or the golf course or pig roast or whatever it happens to be. And as a good business practice, we need to make sure we do things correctly. And the same thing really applies here with technology. We're talking about a best business practice That surveillance system has been installed because we have some significant assets here. And the second half of the project deals with the clubhouse, and it's another one of our major assets here. And I'll remind you that we're getting this at cost. Scott is donating his time to do this, so we're very fortunate. But with a surveillance system, the only ones that have been trained to access it are Elaine. And that's as far as we're going to go with that. And in order for even she to take a look at this, there's going to have to be some sort of report. There's going to have to be a reason for doing it. Damage detected, something stolen, some cause as to we may want to do this. We do not have her, it's brand new. We don't have a procedure in place yet or a policy in place. That is going to be developed and discussed at a board meeting in the fall, one of the board meetings in the fall. But in essence, the cameras are going to be in place, but nobody's going to be looking at those recordings unless they have a reason to. And when they do, I'm going to recommend to the board that we have more than one person looking at it. So that's the approach that we're going to take. I want to thank Scott again for the outstanding work that he's done there. And we can move on. What's next?
I have one comment.
Oh, Mel.
Before we go into Q&A, I have one comment.
Okay. Tom, go for it.
I just wanted to recognize...
Tom, do you want the mic?
No, I'm good. All right.
Okay.
I'm Tom Mullins. I just wanted to recognize Elaine Keating, our business manager. She does... her staff do a fabulous job, and I just wanted to say that.
Tom, I apologize. Do you have any updates on Beach?
Put you on the spot.
Put you on the spot.
As you noticed, down at the beach, the old cookers, the old stone fireplace is missing, and we tore that down to make some more room, and we added some newer grills because the old grills were rotted out. Other than that, we have some issues that we're dealing with down there. You'll notice the bubbler is missing because it got hit by the truck that delivers the porta potties. So I'm in the process of fixing that, and we are missing one of the billets on one of the rafts that I have the billet. I just need the time to go down and replace it. Other than that, everything else is running like clockwork.
Thank you, Tom.
I
Miller.
was just going to ask what the coverage is for the cameras down at
The coverage really, if you take a look at that picture, it covers...
So it's the triangulation, it's the high-value assets, looking at the parking lot, looking at the marina.
coming over the bridge. So we can pretty much see everything on the parking lot and everything on the bridge, across the bridge, and down on the marina side.
Colored triangles. The triangles are like the yellow and the blue and the...
Yep.
Yes.
Those are the coverage for the...
Yes, that's exactly right. Somebody else had a question? Yes.
Two-sided question that goes to business management and IT.
Yep.
Would it be possible, I belong to another association, and I get all of my bills through email, because I'm in New Hampshire in the summer, not in Florida. Would it be possible to have that happen here?
I guess you'd say it's possible. Even I would say that.
Is it likely?
I would answer that as no at this time, because I do not have every single member's email address. And for me to do just part of the email and mail the rest, it's very confusing for this many members.
However, I think it's a good idea. We should look into
Two
it.
bills a year. Every homeowner knows they should be receiving 2 bills a year. It's not a surprise, you know.
We will look at that. That's a good thought.
If I could make a comment.
Go ahead.
One of the things that happens in Florida is you elect whether you want to be mailed, emailed, you make the decision.
Right.
And if we have that capacity, why not? You get your money quicker. My landscaper mails me the day after he cleaned, emails me the day
Right.
after he cleaned my lot.
That,
He wants to do that.
right. Got it. Okay, well, moving on. We now have the new board, which I believe is the same as the old board. So there are 14 on the board. You can take a look at that for a minute. I'm not going to go through it one by one. In addition to the board members, you see Elaine Keating, Christine Metcalf, and Scott Bates as our IT consultant. So I congratulate them all. And let's move into questions and answers. Here's the question. Pat?
I just really have a statement. Having been a past board member, I don't know if a lot of people understand that the board does, I want to thank you all for your job well done. Because if they don't show up the third Saturday every month and spend 2 or 3 or 4 hours here and go home and come back the next month, there are hours and hours spent every week on meetings and conference calls and trying to figure out how to save money, the best way to do things. It's not just, okay, let's do this. So I think people need to understand it's not 2 hours or 3 hours a month. I bet you most of them spend 20 hours a month or more working on taking care of all of us, and I want to thank you for that.
Yes. Name, please.
Hi, Betsy McGuigan on Keller Street. I have a question involving the teenagers. I was wondering if we could come up with something at the beach, for the, say, 11 to 15-year-olds, some kind of an activity, like maybe putting in something that isn't that expensive, like a couple of tetherball kits, setups, so the kids can, at that age, have a little something to do to get them moving a little bit, rather than looking at their phones all day.
That wouldn't have an impact on our bocce ball.
Somewhere else.
Barbara.
Hi, Barbara Ketty, 171 States Landing Road. I've been coming to Swissville forever. I've been here since 1963 as a child and saw the bankruptcy and the whole business. So it seems like I've been here forever, my family. So anyway, and we had a house in Melbourne Village. So all that to tell you who I am. But along the same lines as what Betsy was saying, I have a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old grandchild, and we came up to use the new tennis, which I just became aware of, and she said they were too old.
What?
She said she'd draw the line
Who
at
said that?
13. The
What were you
instructor.
trying to do?
The tennis lessons, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, our 13-year-old and our 15-year-old wanted tennis lessons. We had a bunch of grandkids that qualified, but those two did not, and she said they were too old.
We're not involved in that, Barbara. She asked.
Yeah, can you explain how that works?
To the best of my knowledge, she's a local tennis instructor that has offered to come here and run a clinic and teach some lessons, but as with anything in any private tennis club, there's age stipulation, so that has nothing to do with us.
So it is 13?
Yes, those are her rules that.
Yeah, they use
Barbara,
facility.